Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another Sword of Convallaria video, and it is a casual Friday once again, but there is nothing casual about the patch that dropped in Sword of Convallaria today. It was a huge patch with new chapters in the Fool's Journey, and most importantly, the gear engraving system landing in the game. Now, this is one of the most in-game parts of Sword of Convallaria, and we're not there yet, but with it coming out right now, we can still take advantage of the resonance buffs to get a big power spike in our account. So what this video today is going to be focusing on is which resonance buffs are good and which ones you probably should avoid. I think there are some clear winners on this list, and I'm just going to give you my thought process on all of that. Then I'll walk you through how to use the system once, so you don't get confused and you kind of just know how to take advantage of it. Okay, I want to start by talking about DPS units. This is by far and away the most clear-cut winner to me is Sword plus Cup. When actively attacking, you're going to do 5% more damage and have 15% life steal. This might not be the greatest in every single situation, but it is great all the time. You're just always going to do 5% more damage, and for your DPS units that are kind of up there bruisering it up, trading hits, that 15% life steal will be great, because as you've probably seen, many I think I said that right, many healers in this game don't always top you off. So having that little bit of life steal on your characters can help keep them healthy enough to live through some big AoEs or trade better in these harder fights that we're currently experiencing at what I would call like the early late game stage that many of us are in global right now. So if you just want like generically safest option for DPS units, Sword plus Cup. Now, if you want to get a little bit maybe a little bit more optimal with it, I still think you can use sword engraving all of the time for your DPS weapons, because even the other situations where you can get a little bit more efficient still take advantage of sword plus something for your DPS units. An example would be sword plus pinnacle for your like really long range archer units that aren't going to be taking hits, because if you're unharmed, you get a 12% attack and defense buff. If you can keep this attack and defense buff active, I think you'll get more value out of 12% attack and defense than you would have just 5% more damage. So with your, fake hows of the world, or units where you know you can keep them safe but still have them dropping some damage, sword plus pinnacle could be good. Then there's sword plus wand. This is one of the most like interesting ones. I'm currently trying this out on my Cole, and I'll kind of show you that right here, where you get a 4% attack and defense buff for each tile you traverse, up to 12%. So it's that same 12% attack and defense buff. The deal here is you gotta be moving every turn, and so it's conditional. You know what I mean? Like that 5% damage from sword plus sword plus cup is just always available. This one you do have to be a little bit more mobile, but you will do more damage with it. So there's give and take there, but this is what I'm currently trying to do with my Cole. So the easiest way to think about this, and I'll open that menu up again because I think that's the most simple way of seeing it. Sword is a very safe option, in my opinion. Sword plus Cup is the absolute safest play for your damage dealers, and if you want to get a little bit more efficient, maybe do Sword plus Pinnacle on stuff you can like guarantee you're keeping unharmed, and Sword plus Wand for your mobile assassin type characters if you want to go that route. I don't think Sword plus Sword is really very good, except maybe in like certain, like the problem with Sword plus Sword is it just gives you crit. It doesn't give you more damage. And the situations where I see this being useful would be like in those boss fights where you have to have your assassins like one-shotting things, to keep the fight going. You can already get some crit, and just critting more reliably doesn't put you over any damage thresholds. So that's why I don't really like sword plus sword. Maybe that changes in the end game, but for now, I don't really think so. Okay, next, and I'll show you I'll go through the process once at the end of this video too, to make sure everybody can see that. Okay, next, I want to talk about healers next, and there's a very obvious choice for them. It's going to be this one right here, Cup plus Cup. Again, this makes Cup a very generically good engraving to do on your armor pieces, because you can move it from sword plus cup for a DPS unit to cup plus cup for a healer. This is just going to give you 10% more healing. Now, It won't help you survive big one-shot attempts, but if your units are surviving one-shot attempts, you often need to get them back to full HP to help them continue to survive those one-shots, and more healing will really help with that. So your Inanas, your Samanthas, your Angels of the world, this is going to be the thing you want for them. Cup plus cup. What this means is when you're engraving, like let's say for example, and I'll go look at my gear for a second. Let's jump into my inventory and look at gear, and I'm just starting to get into this. But with weapons, for any weapon that I'm regularly using on a DPS character, I'm going with the sword engraving, right? But for any weapon that I would maybe regularly be using on a healer, maybe I go with the cup engraving, so I can combine it with a cup engraving that I have on a piece of armor. Makes sense? And again, I'll walk you through the engraving system here in a minute. But for now, let's continue to talk about which sets I think are good. So, Cup plus Cup, really good on your healers, and it has the added benefit of Cup also being good on Sword plus Cup for your damage dealers. Okay, last couple ones I want to talk about here are the last two that I think are like really valuable, and that's your physical defense up and your magic defense up. In theory, this could put you over the edge on some really tough fights, right? Like if your whole problem is you're just getting killed by one giant attack, maybe the 15% less magic damage or 15% less physical damage would put you over a threshold. But I think this is more useful for your like, there are units in this game, and I will show you one here. Let's say you're talking about, and I'll jump into my, gosh, navigating menus is so much fun. Let's go to Suppression. Suppression's #1 use, probably in this game, is tanking bosses that do magic damage. Now, again, we're not to the very end game. I haven't done manual PvP, but for now, that's what I use Suppression for. It could be the case that because that's his #1 job, that 15% less magic damage would just like, again, help me push through a stage. So you could build a special set for him that is, and we'll go look at it again, diving through menus as gacha games love to do. You could go, what, green plus cup. What the heck is green called? Pinnacle plus cup. Now, the problem with this is pinnacle plus anything isn't super great. Like the only time I feel like you're using pinnacle is here, like when unharmed, increase attack and defense by 12% for like your archers. So there's a chance you don't have a ton of stuff with the pinnacle engraving on it, which might mean you need to make your like magic tanks their own piece of gear. Like maybe have another epic piece of gear that you've leveled and you have a pinnacle engraving on just for these situations. So I do think pinnacle plus cup could be good when you just need to take less magic damage. And then the exact flip of that, like the same side of that token, is wand plus pinnacle. And so I think you shouldn't feel bad about using those ones. The rest of them on here, I just don't feel like are super great, right? Like for me personally, I'm going to really lean into sword plus cup because I could just do a lot of sword engraving for my damage characters, and I can do a lot of cup engraving for my damage characters and for my healers. Then I'll mix in these other two on, like I'm saying, once you start farming gear, for example, you will have a lot of epic gear. Like I have a lot of dupes of epic gear. So like this one, for example, maybe I just make a coexist armor. I fully dupe one out. I level it up because, we all got tons of leveling dust. And I just put take less certain percent, take less magic or take less physical damage on it. And I just always have that available for my magic tank or my physical tank. But for my more generically useful pieces, at least for now in the game, like my cooling powder or my hunter's intuition, I'm going to want one that I can like bounce between units more. And that's where sword or cup will just be more generically useful. I'm hoping that makes sense. Let me go through building a set right here. So let's say I got my Gloria. I'm going to build my Gloria her set. So I'm going to go to her pendant halberd right here. And that's currently what I'm using on her. I really do like nameless staff on her. I'm not going to lie, the movement's pretty OP, but currently got that on somebody else. Anyway, let's just say pendant halberd. So I'm going to go to gear engraving. Now, for now, all I'm caring about is getting the buff. right? I want the set buff. So I will do sword on this. I'll tell you what, I'll use my one, silver level one here. So I'll do sword. I'll get 1 to 3 stats. I got magic defense and max HP. I can't re-engrave that because I'm out of that one, but I can override it. Magic defense, max HP, not the best. So I'll tell you what, let's try another one here. I want a little physical damage. I got physical attack 5%. I'll keep that for now. Okay, so there's her halberd. It's got sword on it. Now let's go back. Let's go to her trinket that she's equipping right now, the crystal burst armor. Here we go. Let's enhance that. Gear engraving, and I will put cup on this. I'll use one of my silver ones right here just for fun. We'll get our random substats here. Physical attack again, not too bad. Let's use that. And now I have a physical attack increase from like the random substats, and when actively attacking, I will deal 5% more damage. And because my Gloria often takes some damage back, I have 15% lifesteal. Don't worry, at anytime in this game, you can come in here and override the current buffs you have. But to get this stuff, to actually farm this stuff, it's gonna be a minute before we're really farming the highest tier of it, because right now I'm almost to the point where I can farm stage 9, like when my account hits level 50, but then here's the stage right here where you're getting the truly high-end stuff. So we will revisit this whole situation when we can actually farm stage 10 and actually go for like min-maxing substats. For now, pay attention to your engraving buff, get the ones that you want, and get that nice little instant power spike to your account. That's the guide. I'm super tired. It's time for me to go to bed. I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Peace.